The rabbit sent in a little bill. It was the white rabbit trotting slowly back again, and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it was looking for something. And she heard it muttering to itself, the Duchess, oh my poor paws, oh my fur and whiskers. She'll give the order to execute me, I'm sure. Where can they be, I wonder? Alice guessed in a moment that the rabbit was looking for the fan and the pair of white gloves, and she began looking for them, too. But they were nowhere in sight. Even the great hall, with the glass table and the little door, disappeared completely. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice, and called out to her in an angry tone, "Mary Ann, what are you doing here? Run home this moment, and bring me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quick, now." It frightened Alice, and she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran. "How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I'll bring him his fan and gloves. I hope I will find them." As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright brass plate with the name W. Rabbit upon it. She went in without knocking, and hurried upstairs. She was afraid to meet the real Mary Ann. "How strange it seems," Alice said to herself, "to have orders from a rabbit. I believe Dinah'll be giving me orders next. I can imagine it. Miss Alice, come here directly, and get ready for your walk. Coming in a minute, nurse. But now I must see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only I don't think," Alice went on, "that Dinah would stay in the house after it." Soon she found her way into a tidy little room with a table near the window, and on the table she saw a fan, and 2 or 3 pairs of little white gloves. She took up the fan and a pair of the gloves, and was just going to leave the room, when she saw a little bottle that stood near the looking-glass. There was no label this time with the words "Drink me," but she uncorked it and put it to her lips. "I know something interesting is sure to happen," she said to herself, "whenever I eat or drink anything. So I'll just see what this bottle does. I hope it'll make me grow large again, because I'm quite tired of being such a little girl." It did so indeed, and as she was still drinking, she found her head pressing against the ceiling, and had to stop not to break her neck. She put down the bottle hastily, saying to herself, "That's quite enough, more than enough. I hope I won't grow any more. But now I can't get out of the room." She went on growing, and growing, and very soon had to kneel down on the floor. In another minute there was not even room for this, and she tried the effect of lying down with one elbow against the door, and the other arm curled round her head. Still she went on growing, and, as a last resource, she put one arm out of the window, and one foot up the chimney, and said to herself, "Now I can do no more, whatever happens. What will become of me?" Luckily for Alice, she grew no larger. Still it was very uncomfortable, and there seemed to be no chance to get out of the room again. She felt very unhappy. It was much better at home, thought poor Alice, when one wasn't always growing larger and smaller, and taking orders from mice and rabbits. Why did I jump down that rabbit hole? And yet, it's so curious. You know, this sort of life. While reading fairy tales, I thought that kind of thing never happened. And now here I am in the middle of one. They will write a book about me. I'm sure they will. And when I grow up, I'll write one. But I'm grown up now, she added sadly. At least there's no room to grow up anymore here. But then, thought Alice, will I never get any older than I am now? That'll be a comfort, never to be an old woman. But then, always to have lessons to learn. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, you stupid Alice, she answered herself. How can you learn lessons here? There's hardly room for you. And no room at all for any books. And so she went on, taking first one side and then the other, and making quite a conversation of it all together. But after a few minutes she heard a voice outside, and stopped to listen. Marianne, Marianne, said the voice. Bring me my gloves this moment. Then came a soft pattering of feet on the stairs. Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled so that she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now about 1,000 times bigger than the rabbit, and had no reason to be afraid of it. Soon the rabbit came up to the door, and tried to open it. But the door opened inwards, and Alice had to press her elbow hard against it. So he failed to do it. Alice heard it say to itself, then I'll go round and get in at the window. No, you won't, thought Alice. And, after waiting till she thought, she heard the rabbit just under the window. She suddenly spread out her hand, and tried to snatch it. She did not catch anything. But she heard a shriek and a fall, and a crash of broken glass. It fell into a cucumber frame. Or something of the sort, I believe, Alice thought. Next came an angry voice, the rabbit's. Pat, Pat, where are you? And then a new voice answered. I'm here, digging for apples, Your Honor. Digging for apples, indeed, said the rabbit angrily. Here, come and help me get out of this. Sounds of more broken glass. Now tell me, Pat, what's that in the window? Sure, it's an arm, Your Honor. An arm, you stupid. Whoever saw such a big arm? It fills the whole window. Sure, it does, but Your Honor, but still it's an arm. Well, it's got no business there, at any rate, go and take it away. There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, sure, I don't like it, but Your Honor, at all, at all. Do as I tell you, you coward. And at last she spread out her hand again, and snatched the air once more. This time there were 2 shrieks, and more sounds of broken glass. What a number of cucumber frames they have, thought Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. Will they be able to pull me out of the window? I hope they will. I'm sure I don't want to stay here any longer. She waited for some time, without hearing anything more. At last came a sound of little cartwheels, and the sound of many voices talking all together. She made out the words, where's the other ladder? Here's mine, Bill is bringing the other. Bill, bring it here. Here, put 'em up at this corner. No, tie them together first. They don't reach high enough. Oh, they'll do well enough, don't be particular. Bill, take this rope. Will the roof bear? Mind that loose slate. Oh, it's coming down. Heads below. A loud crash. Well, who did that? It was Bill, I'm sure. Who will go down the chimney? Not me. You do it. I won't. Bill will go down. Bill, you go down the chimney. Oh, so Bill is going to came down the chimney, said Alice to herself. It seems they make Bill do everything. This fireplace is narrow, but I think I can kick a little. She drew her foot as far down the chimney as she could, and waited till she heard a little animal. She couldn't guess what animal it was, scratching and scrambling about in the chimney close above her. Then, saying to herself, "This is Bill," she gave one sharp kick, and waited to see what would happen next. The first thing she heard was a general chorus of, "There goes Bill." Then the rabbit's voice said, "Catch him, you, by the hedge." Then came silence, and then another confusion of voices. "Hold up his head. Give him some brandy. How was it, old fellow? What happened to you? Tell us all about it." Last came a little voice. "That's Bill," thought Alice. "Well, I hardly know, no more, thank you. I'm better now, it was such a shock. All I know is something came at me, and I went up like a skyrocket." "That's true, old fellow," said the others. "We must burn the house down," said the rabbit's voice. And Alice called out as loud as she could, "Don't you dare, or Dinah'll come and get you." There was a dead silence at once, and Alice thought to herself, "I wonder what they will do next. Take the roof off?" After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Alice heard the rabbit say, "A barrowful will do, to begin with." A barrowful of what, thought Alice. But she had not long to doubt. The next moment a shower of little stones came rattling in at the window, and some of them hit her in the face. "I must stop it," she said to herself, and shouted out, "Don't you dare do that again," which produced another dead silence. Alice noticed with some surprise that the little stones were all turning into little cakes as they lay on the floor, and a bright idea came into her head. "I can eat one of these cakes," she thought. "It will certainly make some change in my size. It can't possibly make me larger, so it will make me smaller." And she ate one of the cakes, and was happy to see that she began shrinking at once. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out of the house, and found quite a crowd of little animals and birds waiting outside. The poor little lizard, Bill, was in the middle, and 2 guinea pigs were giving it something out of a bottle. They all rushed at Alice the moment she appeared, but she ran off as hard as she could, and soon found herself safe in a thick forest. "The first thing," said Alice to herself, wandering through the wood, "is to grow to my right size again. And the second thing is to find my way into that lovely garden. I think that is the best plan." It was a great plan, no doubt. The only difficulty was that she had not the smallest idea how to set about it. And while she was walking among the trees, A little sharp bark just over her head made her look up in a great hurry. A very big puppy was looking down at her with large round eyes, and timidly stretching out one paw, trying to touch her. "Poor puppy," said Alice, in a coaxing tone, and she tried hard to whistle to it. But she was terribly afraid. "It may be hungry," she thought, "and in that case it will eat me up in a moment." Hardly knowing what she was doing, she picked up a little stick, and offered it to the puppy. The puppy happily jumped into the air, and rushed at the stick, and pretended to attack it. Alice quickly stepped behind a great thistle, and that was the only reason why the puppy didn't run over her. The moment she appeared on the other side, the puppy rushed at the stick again, and tumbled head over heels in its hurry. Then Alice, thinking it was very like playing with a cart horse, and expecting every moment to find herself under its feet, ran round the thistle again. The puppy kept attacking the stick, running a very little way forwards each time and a long way back, and barking hoarsely all the time. At last it sat down, panting, with its tongue hanging out of its mouth, and its great eyes half shut. This seemed to Alice a good opportunity for making her escape. So she set off at once, and ran till she was quite tired and out of breath, until the puppy's bark sounded quite faint in the distance. "What a nice little puppy it was," said Alice, as she leant against a flower to have some rest, and fanned herself with one of the leaves. "What a pity I'm not the right size. Oh, I have to grow up again. Let me see, how can I do it? I think I must eat or drink something. But the great question is what?" Alice looked all round her at the grass and flowers, but she did not see anything that looked like the right thing to eat or drink. There was a large mushroom growing near her, about the same height as herself, and she looked under it, and on both sides of it, and behind it, and stretched herself up on tiptoe, and looked over the edge of the mushroom, and she immediately saw a large caterpillar that was sitting on the top with its arms folded, quietly smoking a long hookah, and not noticing Alice or anything else.
Вам нравится учить английский с нами? Тогда подпишитесь на наш канал, чтобы не пропустить новые видео. И не забудьте поставить лайк. До новых встреч!